was on the trail in Iowa not long ago, but he's no politician, and he's not looking for votes. He's looking for diamonds in the rough. With Lee Cowan, meet American picker Mike Wolfe.
Even though Mike Wolfe was such a big star, a huge chunk of his life has always been kept hidden from his fans. Even when dangerous rumors about him circulated, he chose to remain silent. But finally, after many decades, he has decided to speak up about all the devastating things he has endured. Finally, light is shed on the death of his friend, a heartbreaking divorce, and a devastating car crash that almost took his life. Why did he keep quiet all these years? And what made him kick his own friend out of American Pickers? Join us as we reveal what Mike Wolfe had to say about the rumors, the early years of the television star. There is so much about the hidden life of Mike Wolfe that one could literally write a book about it 3 times a week, with different arcs and characters. From his early days, his life was filled with so much turmoil that he had no choice but to transition from a back-alley loving kid to an all-star, passionate everyman. While American Pickers built his reputation as a roadside scavenger, the huge shadow of his broader, all-around television persona has been cast on his life outside of scavenging. Born in Joliet, Illinois, Mike grew up in Bettendorf, Iowa, in a house with a lot of financial struggles. He and his siblings lived without a dad, but still managed to get by due to the tough corrections of their harder-than-iron single mom, Rita, who single-handedly raised him and his siblings, Robbie and Beth. No matter how tough her iron grip was, it just couldn't stop a young Mike Wolfe from walking into back alleys to search for trash instead of studying. He would purposely take the long way home so he could search through trash, but his passion didn't really kick off till he found a beat-up bike. Money was tight, but that didn't stop him from trying to upscale junk. At just 6 years old, he stumbled across a banana seat bicycle buried in the weeds behind a neighbor's place. It was a rusty little gem that adults had no use for, and that most kids would have ignored. But Mike didn't fit the mold of most kids. With just $5 he scraped together after breaking open his savings and borrowing some from friends, he dragged the bicycle home, scrubbed it clean, pumped up the tires, and sold it for a tidy profit. And that tidy profit he made was exactly what pushed him to want to do more. After the age of 6 and into his teenage years, his passion grew even larger. While the other kids kicked balls or watched cartoons, Mike would be outside scavenging. In the summer, winter, or even when it rained, he would be checking in on his favorite trash cans. It didn't take long before his actions melted his mom's heart, leading her to completely relinquish control of the garage so he could have a base of operations, and letting him turn it into a chaotic workshop of dreams. By 2000, that kid's obsession had already grown into antique archaeology. The original antique archaeology was a quirky Iowa shop packed with oddities he'd yanked from collapsing barns and overgrown backyards. It was on a much larger scale than the freelancing at 6 years old, or the old garage much later in his teens. It was the start of something huge, with cleaner processes, better finds, and, most importantly, a fast-growing community. Then 2010 rolled in, and the world couldn't look away from what was happening at his antique store. He got offered a television deal that he accepted in a heartbeat, and in an instant, American Pickers crashed onto the History Channel like a thunderbolt, pulling in 3 million viewers on its debut night. The rusty gold hunter wasn't alone in all this. By his side was his best friend, Frank Fritz. Their on-screen chemistry was so good that it became a fan favorite among reality TV fans at the time. Soon enough, antique archaeology got so big that they had no choice but to open a second location in Nashville. Viewership climbed to nearly 4 million in weeks. And suddenly, he and Frank were everywhere. They were on magazine covers, in fan rooms, and in the history books. But Mike's success in the antique world came with a price. While the cameras captured his triumphs, his private life was hitting a breaking point. And it all started with a multi-million-dollar divorce that threatened to dismantle his empire. The divorce that started everything. Long before they became a wealthy reality TV couple, Mike Wolfe and Jody Faith had a deeply rooted relationship that began well before the cameras started rolling. Mike and Jody met in 1994 through mutual friends. At the time, Mike was far from being a successful television star and a professional accountant. And eventually, when quite a bit of attention came into the picture, Jody preferred to stay out of the public eye and live a relatively quiet life. The couple dated for nearly 2 decades before they finally tied the knot. During this time, she was reportedly one of the main supporters of Mike pitching American Pickers to network executives. Before walking down the aisle, the couple welcomed their only child together, Charlie Faith Wolfe, in January 2012. Charlie was born with a cleft lip and palate, and the couple spent her first months focusing on her immediate reconstructive surgeries before pivoting to their wedding plans. These wedding plans finally materialized later that year in September, as they exchanged vows in a highly stylized ceremony. They went on to have a second son. Due to a very sudden change, Mike didn't have the luxury of seeing him grow up in person. Their problems first started in 2013, when his wife got hit with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a diagnosis that turned their world upside down. The diagnosis came as a complete surprise to the family because Jody was known to lead an incredibly healthy lifestyle. Mike stood by her as she underwent aggressive medical treatments. Fortunately, after 6 months of intensive therapy, Jody was declared cancer-free. Even though they had already been through thick and thin, when Mike started becoming busier and less seen at home, she just couldn't bear it. It caused their relationship to fracture, and the worst thing of all, he was completely oblivious to what was going on. To him, he was already missing out on family time and wished he could get back soon. But to her, her husband was jaded and tired of the bonds they shared. Just a few years later, she decided it was time to end it all. In November 2020, Jody filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, shattering the image of the perfect-picking family. In the documents, she also stated their official date of separation would be in June of that year. According to the final decree filed in the Williamson County Circuit Court, Jody believed all hopes of reconciliation were exhausted, and they could no longer live together as a married couple. If it ended there, it might have been easy for Mike to move on. But the statements in the decree put him at too much of a disadvantage, eventually putting him in a position of deep financial trouble. When the divorce was finalized late the next year, it required an immense division of Mike's estate. He was ordered to pay her a lump sum exceeding $5 million. Her legal team didn't stop there. They went further in their ask for damages and successfully secured a massive recurring payout. She was awarded 40% of Mike's post-tax royalties that would be collected all through the first 10 seasons of American Pickers for a 5-year period stretching until December 31st, 2026. His ex-wife was also awarded primary residential custody of their daughter, with Mike being made to pay $2,100 a month in child support. It wasn't an easy period for him in any case. He had just lost his wife, a lot of his assets, and his 2 kids. He went through a stage of denial before finally breaking down, but that didn't manage to stop him in his tracks. He would show up on TV as the same passionate person, and even when his ex-wife fell into another health crisis years after the separation, it failed to make him waver. Mike lost his marriage and a chunk of his fortune, but he was about to lose something even more valuable: his 40-year brotherhood with Frank Fritz. And this time, the world was watching. The fallout of ages. Suddenly, In 2021, while he was also dealing with marital troubles, his partnership with his best friend started to feel like a burden to both of them. They managed to keep it under wraps wherever they appeared on TV, but the crew couldn't help how awkward their interactions started becoming. In 2020, they reportedly had a huge fight, and that was exactly when Frank stopped appearing on the show. The two of them, or even the network, didn't bother to explain why. Fans dismissed it as maybe just a change of scenery for a bit. But one episode passed, another went by, and a few more flew by, and Frank Fritz was nowhere to be found. Then the months turned into a year, and that was when the producers finally announced Frank's departure. They tried their best to keep the post as vague as possible, but when Mike was made to post about the incident on his Instagram, he got talked into putting a heartfelt paragraph on how he would miss his buddy's influence on the show. Upon seeing this post, Frank didn't accept a word and immediately publicly dismissed Mike's statement as false. He made a post of his own focused on airing his bitter opinions about the whole situation. In the post, he revealed that he and Mike hadn't spoken in the 2 years since he left American Pickers. He felt abandoned by someone he had known for over 40 years. Frank believed the show had also become completely focused on Mike. And that was why, even though they both disagreed, he was the only one exiled. He also stated that despite informing close friends about his health problems during those 2 years, his supposed friend, whom he grew up with, never bothered to reach out. Frank had battled Crohn's disease, a condition that left him weak and often in pain, not allowing him to consistently appear on TV. In 2020, he had back surgery that kept him off the road. During that time, he became addicted to painkillers. The network had strict rules about drug use, and Frank reportedly failed mandatory doping tests and health tests despite being off prescription. That gave them another reason to keep him off the show. Still, Frank insisted he wasn't one to quit and that he was ready to adapt. But these appeals fell on deaf ears when he couldn't even meet the standards. In one of his series of shitposts, Frank publicly accused Mike of purposely pushing him aside in favor of his brother, Robbie Wolfe, who had taken his place and started appearing more on American Pickers. Stats in Robbie were the exact reason why they didn't want to cut corners for him. Mike, on the other hand, debunked this, saying he had tried to support Frank through this period, even though he was going through one himself, saying that he had even advised him to get help. He called the falling out painful and compared it to losing a brother. By mid-2021, the departure became official. The History Channel confirmed Frank's departure from the series. Fans were upset about it, but there was nothing they could do. Some started petitions demanding his return, but by then, Frank's health had become a bigger concern than his television appearances. Then, in July 2022, his condition worsened. Frank suffered a severe stroke that left him partially paralyzed and bedridden. His condition never improved after this, and on September 30th, 2024, at age 60, he passed on. Despite everything, Mike was physically by his side till the end. They had reconnected privately in May 2023. And then, after Frank's passing, he posted a tribute on Instagram, calling him a fellow dreamer who would remain his best friend forever. With Frank departing the show, it faced severe downtime. At one point, everything they did looked poor in the eyes of viewers, prompting them to almost cancel the series entirely. Issues on authenticity. One of the biggest debates in American Pickers history happened during the episode called Shelby in the Barn, which aired in 2016. The episode followed Mike and his colleague John Sale as they searched for a Chevy neon sign in Alabama. Instead, they stumbled upon a rare 1967 Shelby Mustang GT 500, a car that had reportedly been sitting untouched for over 40 years. The discovery seemed too good to be true, and fans quickly raised questions. The debate grew so aggressively that it even caused a section of fans to boycott the franchise entirely. Just as he was dealing with this, a customer accused his store of backing out of a sale prematurely for greed. They placed an order on the website, received a confirmation, and then suddenly received a refund without explanation. They filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, but Antique Archaeology responded with an excuse, saying two people had bought the same item at virtually the same time, within just seconds of each other. A technical glitch allowed both payments to go through before the system could update the inventory, and the second order was refunded as a result. Despite this explanation, the customer remained frustrated. Complaints about the store weren't new, but this still didn't prevent another controversy that occurred much later. This was about his role in changing Columbia, Tennessee. In 2022, he bought a rundown historic home there for $700,000 and attempted to monopolize it. Critics said he was purposely driving up property values and changing Columbia's identity in an attempt to extort them and launder money. They worried that their small-town charm was disappearing right before their eyes and that they would be priced out of their own community. Mike, however, was only focused on his goals. He saw his work as a way to preserve history while creating new economic opportunities. In the end, he never managed to silence the critics and gain their favor. To date, the debate over his impact on Columbia continues, and for many, they will forever hate him as a capitalist who commenced an inhuman project. His battle with his fans continued, and at one point, he could no longer defend himself. He eventually lost everything he had built. The end of a childhood dream. When Mike turned 60 on the 6th of November in 2024, his girlfriend, Letitia Klein, celebrated the occasion with heartfelt messages about his journey and his accomplishments. In the little celebration she hosted for him, he spoke about valuing the small circle of people around him and prioritizing meaningful relationships over work. He spoke about how, even though his mind wanted to continue tinkering, his body was now giving up on him, and that even if he wanted to continue, he would have to be involved passively, and that wasn't something he would accept. This birthday monologue didn't change him, and he continued tinkering. He kept on going strong, but in 2025, he was forced to stop. His Nashville Antique Stores branch closed down suddenly. He rushed to the scene to find out what the problem was, and that was when he discovered a dangerous gas leak caused by nearby construction. Fans immediately started asking questions. Some believed the closure was temporary and would be resolved soon. Others wondered if something bigger was happening behind the scenes. While Mike was trying to answer the questions properly so as not to give anything away, the store crashed in that year, and everything he had struggled for came to an end. Maybe now that his career had fallen off a cliff, he could finally get the rest that his age demanded, but it wasn't that easy. Soon after the gas leak, his life almost ended. The Columbia Incident. On an incredibly unfateful day, the universe tested Mike Wolfe's resolve 50 steps further with a threat to his life and that of his girlfriend. According to police and witness reports, on this day, Mike Wolfe and Letitia Klein were driving a vintage Porsche 356 through Columbia when a 76-year-old man named Lerone Heads pulled out abruptly from a side street in an SUV and rammed into them. It was a situation that left the couple with little to no time to react, and it felt like a huge miracle that they came out alive. Wolfe crawled from the wreckage with a broken nose, stitches, and deep facial bruising. It was a miraculous escape from a collision that could have been fatal. Letitia Klein, on the other hand, had more severe injuries. She had various parts of her jaw broken ribs, a fractured sternum, and a partially collapsed lung. She underwent multiple surgeries and spent weeks in the hospital before beginning what would be a long recovery. Lerone Heads, the drunk driver, was subsequently charged with DUI, vehicular assault, and failure to yield, resulting in serious bodily injury. In one of the many posts he made after the incident, Mike described the accident as another chance to live life. It represented his current state of mind. Mike had already spent the previous year and a half losing everything. He knew this was a touch-and-go call for him. Do you think Frank was right in his battle with Mike? And do you think the scripted rumors are true? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.